Hi guys, Happy New Year and welcome back. We're going to begin our new year with Chapter 12, the Aggregate Supply and the Aggregate Demand Model, or just the Aggregate Supply, Aggregate Demand Model is how you say it. Okay, anyway, here we go. So I have sent you guys via email your Chapter 12 spreadsheet. So you should have that before you need to open up the assignment and begin. So I really want you to view these first a couple of videos and work with your spreadsheet. So you gain a very important skill, which is learning how to create uh, graphs from data in spreadsheets. So when you open yours up, it's going to look like this right here. So the first thing we want to do here is we want to uh, create our curves for our aggregate demand and aggregate supply in our graph down here. Um, because if we look at our questions that we are answering, let me jump back over to the one right here. We are answering, well, the first thing it says is that we are looking at the aggregate supply and the aggregate demand and the price level for the imaginary country Exerbia. And this is shown in the table on your spreadsheet. And we want to use the table and graph to answer these questions. So the first one is we want to plot um, the aggregate supply and the aggregate demand curves on our graph and find out where the equilibrium is. Now, when you look at your table over here, just jump back over here, you can see without even doing the graph where the equilibrium is right here. Actually, no, sorry. Let me look. It's going to be right here. Sorry, wow. It's early in the morning, right here, where aggregate demand equals aggregate supply. And when we plot these curves on our graph, you will see that. So let's get right to it. So what you want to do is you want to come down in your chart area and you want to right click and left click on select data. And then we simply want to add. Okay, so we're going to add, and we're going to add our series name for our aggregate demand. So we're already here, see, in the a series name box, and we want to come up here and click left click on aggregate demand right here, and then we want to select our X values, which are going to be the quantities on the horizontal axis. So we want to click this little grid right here, and we want to select this data right here, and then we want to click the down arrow and click the grid for the Y values right here, and click the down arrow here, and then click one more time and go OK. OK again. And this is the country of Exerbia's aggregate demand right here. We have plotted. Now let's see. We might want to change some things here. Let me make sure I've got the range that we want. I think it's right, but let me just make sure. Let me jump back over here. We want to go from no, we want to go from 100 to 170. So you're gonna have to change that. So because it just put that in there automatically. So actually, no, okay, no, it's correct. Sorry about that. Okay, so it's good. So, and this is all good. So and you see your legend coming in over here. Okay. Next, we want to plot our aggregate supply. So we want to right click again and then click on select data and then click right here, add, and our series name right here is aggregate supply. And then we want to click this grid right here for series X values. And then we want to select, and how I'm doing this is I'm starting here at the first cell, which is cell D3. I'm left clicking on it, and then I'm just holding the mouse and I'm dragging just like that. And then I'm going to come back and click on this red down arrow. And then I'm going to click again on the series Y values grid right here. And do that same thing for my series Y values, which is our price levels. I'm going to left click on cell B3 and just drag, just like that. And then come back over here, click on the red down arrow, and say okay, okay, and there we have it. Now we have our the country or the economy of Exerbia's aggregate supply. So now we can answer our first question. The equilibrium is at a price level of 130 and a quantity of 60, 70, 80, right? 80. And we can check that out in the table right here. See? So that takes care of the first question. Let's jump back over and see where we are. Okay, so I think I need to be here. Yes. So now the question 2 is, would you expect unemployment in this economy to be relatively high or low? Explain how you know. Okay, well, what we want to do now is we want to put in our potential GDP curve or line, actually. So let's come back over here. And we want to put in where our potential GDP is, and this is where the output of Exerbia would be if they were utilizing all of their resources, all of their workers, all of their capital, everything. So we want to put this line in right here. So let's just come back to our table, or our graph, I should say, and right click, select data, add, and we want to add our potential GDP, and then we want to click, and I'm left clicking on this grid. We want to select the series of values. So I'm going to left click and drag, click the red down arrow, and then we want to select the Y series of values. So we're going to left click here and drag, click the down arrow again, and okay, and there it is. Okay. Now we can see that where they are now operating, where the economy currently is well below their potential. So the answer is you're most likely going to have a relatively high unemployment. And if we look at the answers that I have here, let's just see. So we've got, yeah, so when you have, even if I did not put in that potential GDP line, you would know, because where the economy is operating is far from where the aggregate supply becomes steeper. So you're not close to your potential GDP, so unemployment is going to be high. Now, number 3 is asking us, and you can see the answer, but let's just jump back over to what the actual question is, so we know what we're answering. Would you be concerned about the prospect of a rising price level in this economy, explain how you know. Well, if you look at where we are here, let's jump back over to where we are, which is here. If you look at where we are, we're on the a relatively flat part of the aggregate supply curve. So at this point, at this portion right here, we're not really that concerned about rising prices, because as we increase output here, price rises relatively slowly. Now, once we get up in here, then we would begin to be concerned with a rising price levels or inflation, because as in this part of the curve, as we increase quantity, our price goes up rather dramatically. Okay, so the answer there would be no, because we're in the relatively flat part of the curve. Okay, so now we're gonna go back and see what else we need to do here for number 4. Actually, I'm going to do a number 4, and then I'll pick up a number 5 on the next video, because I don't want these videos to run too long. So we're going to assume now that there is a government tax cut, and the aggregate demand becomes higher by 50 at every level. Okay, so this is where you're going to need to be careful. So what you want to do is you want to come back to your table, and the first thing you want to do is you want to put in your new aggregate demand right here, and that's going to be 50 units higher at every level. So you're just going to have to type it in. So this right here would be 750, 750, right? Now what I'm going to do to make this a little bit quicker is, since I've already done it, I'm going to come back over here and jump back up to where I've done it, which is right here, to make sure I don't make an error on the video, and just copy these out, because these numbers right here are at every level 50 higher than what you see over here. Okay, so we're going to put that in just like so. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go Control C, which you'll have to type these in to yours. Okay, come back over here, put that in. Okay, now we can create on our graph this new aggregate demand. So we're going to come here, and we're going to right click, left click on select data, add, and we're going to add our new aggregate demand. And then we're going to click here and select our values, just like so. And then we're going to click the red down arrow, and then click on Series Y values grid. Select those over here. Click the red down arrow again, click OK, click OK. And now we have our new demand curve, which is shifted to the right as a result of what? As a result of, let's go back. As a result of, where was I? Yeah, here, sorry. As a result of a government tax cut. So that's going to shift aggregate demand to the right, because everyone has more money to spend, theoretically. Okay. So now I just want a word of caution here. All these problems are theoretical. They're making very simple assumptions. So don't think that just because there is a government tax cut that's going to cause a major shift in the aggregate demand of an economy, because it really depends on how the tax cut works, who actually gets it, how much it is. So there's a lot of variables here that we're not really thinking about at all. We're just making some very broad, simple assumptions. So this is just to help us see basically what could happen in an economy. So anyway, we've shifted it out. Now we want to know our new equilibrium, and we can go back to our graph and we can see it here, and we can also see it up here when we look at our we have not changed our aggregate supply here, sorry, here. So we see that it matches up right here at a 720 and a price of 140. And we can also see that here on the graph, here and here. Okay, so that helps us with questions, let's go back, questions 1 through 4, and I'm going to come back on the next video and pick up with question number 5.